I tell the cameras.
What do you mean?
I mean, can we show someone being shot on live television?
We're on.
The piece of what had been called the Munich Olympics was shattered this morning.
The 1972 Munich Olympic Games was set to be the spectacle that would supersede the somber Berlin Games of 1936. But that wasn't to be, as a terrorist attack by a Palestinian militant group, Black September, took members of Israel's team hostage, ultimately leaving Israel 11 Israelis, 5 Black September members, and a West German officer dead. And a new film retells the story through the eyes of an ABC sports crew, pivoting from covering the competition at hand to the incident right in front of them. Joining us live now is the director of September 5, Tim Fehlbaum. Tim, pleasure to meet you this morning. I got a chance to screen this film last week, and it really left me with a whole lot of ideas. But first of all, I wanted to ask you about this. You're telling the story of a film where some people of a certain vintage definitely know the ending of the film, and other people can just pick up the phone and Google what happened. So as you're directing a film where people kind of know the ending already, what's the challenge like as a director to sort of tell a story there and make it so people want to keep watching, I suppose?
Well, that's good morning, by the way, and thanks for having me. That's definitely the challenge, so it's a good question. But for me, actually, our story is not so much about what happened, but about the coverage of that. So we have a very, as you said, a very distinctive perspective, and this is more about how you would. It's about a group of sports journalists that had to make the switch from reporting on the Olympics to the reporting on these tragic events. So it's more about how you deal with that, like the questions that you are confronted with. Then, for example, can we show violence on live television?
Yeah. Yeah, it was the tension in the film. There's so many different levels of tension between the crew itself, between the news division and sports division, between the German translator who's there hoping that the games, reflect well on Germany, between the team, Black September. I mean, the different levels of tension and the different sort of subplots throughout the film. A lot of sort of balls in the air kind of dangling. How did you thread that all together to make it such a nice, tight, again, 94-minute film?
As you say, there were really a lot of things at stake at this time. For example, also in our movie, what takes an important role is that it was so close to World War II, right?
Yeah.
So Germany wanted to send out this new image to the world of this of a liberal Germany, and then this tragic thing happened. But to answer your questions, like the way I approach it, myself, I have a documentary background. Also, I worked a lot as a documentary cameraman.
Yeah.
And I wanted to shoot the whole thing as if we ourselves would be a documentary team or a broadcast team in that room, observing these people, observing that situations via the monitors. So the way I shot it is like I did long takes and just let the camera roll, Yeah. That, of course, generates a lot of footage. And then what you mentioned of why it feels so tight, so that I have to thank my editor, Hans-Jörg Weisbrich, who then gets that into shape and yeah.
You do feel when you watch the film that you are right there, so I have to commend you on that style of shooting for sure. It's interesting, how do you think this fits into the overall, this was September 5th, 1972, Israel-Palestine terrorism. We've got the Hamas-Israel war right now, October 7th is another sort of date that jumps out here. It sort of shows the lasting impact of this war. Do you hope that this talks about that? Like, how do you think that fits into the sort of context we're in right now?
Well, first of all, we finished the movie, or I finished editing before October 7th of last year. So, of course, I think how the world is today will have an impact on how people will see these movies. But ultimately, we have our movie is about that very specific moment in time, and we tell it from that perspective. So we hope that we can provide for today's audience, like raise interesting questions about how we consume ourselves, the media today. So it's more about this.
Yeah, it is a fascinating and fantastic film. Tim Fehlbaum, appreciate meeting you. Nice to meet you. Good luck with this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.